All righty. Good morning, everyone. Sorry for that little glitch right there on there. So I'm the Sarge. Welcome back to the Sports Compound. I got a good special guest here, Callan. Callan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Tim. Thanks for the invite. It's great to be here this morning.
That's awesome. I gotta admit, we're on a couple of chats, Callan, and you do you have a pretty cool job, which I think is that you have. But can you just let the world know what job that you actually do?
Sure thing. I'm born and raised here in San Diego, California. I work in the in sports media I've been there for 13 years. I do a lot of public address announcing, play-by-play announcing locally for a lot of the teams that play here. So we have a minor league hockey team here. We have a very, well-known and respected indoor soccer franchise, and I work for two of our local Division I and Division II universities. And I'm kind of a Swiss Army knife, going from doing, in venue announcing to online commentary to freelance writing to podcasting, just to kind of keep myself going as the year goes on. And I've been doing that for 13 years, and it's been very fun to be a part of the industry and see a lot of sports history unfold. That's for sure.
All right. With that being said, you were part of a national championship with indoor soccer. How was that? How was that feeling to be part of that? I saw the picture, so I thought it was pretty cool there.
No, honestly, it's amazing, and for a city like San Diego, who's been looking for a franchise to win and bring championships to this market, and for this franchise, who I think anyone out there who may not be fully invested with soccer knows the San Diego Sockers. They've been around for over 40 years. They've won 16 championships in over 40 years as a franchise. They literally won 10 in 11 seasons, kind of back when the indoor game was at their climax in the 80s, when the league was about 20, 30 teams deep. They had national coverage. They had, national coverage, national publications, national television, following the league for so long. And I think about, Bob Bell, the owner of the Sockers. I think about the Buss family in LA, who really, I think, tried to get people to gravitate to this sport, though. And for a franchise who, leagues have, started, then they folded. The team has started, then they folded. And for the franchise to come back, though, in 2009 and to bring, 6 more championships to that, legendary name, though, is so cool. And that was the third one I've been a part of in 9 years, with the Sockers winning it this past season in a very good final, because in a way, it kind of, parallels what's going on in the National Hockey League right now. There's a team who's won back-to-back championships, but, both of them have kind of, in a way, been, well, was it really won fairly because of the COVID-related seasons? And that's what people were saying about the our championship last season. And for us to go out there and win 23 out of 24 regular season matches, lose twice all year, or 3 times all year, but lose in overtime, never losing in regulation, then to win the championship at home. Very, cool to be a part of, especially when we've gotten so close over the past several years, but just cannot get over that hump. Was, very cool to be a part of. I mean, just in perspective, the after party lasted until 3:00 in the morning. That's how deep it went into the following day.
All right, so party like a rock star. So what you're saying with that one.
Try
and we got Brendan Herrera saying, Sarge, what does it like to interview someone with a title reign? And I'm just gonna say, I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy. So I'm just gonna go right there on that. That's one. Good. So San Diego has a whole bunch of sports and all that. And let's just get into the show right now. So let's talk about the MLB. And there's just been two teams that have actually surprised me. The first one is the Angels. They a little bit at the beginning of the season, they were on top of the AL West. I know it's beginning of the season, but I consider them a small market team or a medium market team with that one.
Agreed.
But they're actually doing pretty well. They're second in the NL West, or the AL West, excuse me, on that one. And I mean, do you think Ohtani is the new face of the Angels?
Sarge, I've been thinking about this ever since he signed in 2015, 2016 is that, is he kind of slowly pushing Trout off the ledger as the face of the Angels organization? And I would honestly say yes, because of what he has single-handedly done in his career. Because we have never seen, unless you're old enough to remember Babe Ruth playing with the, way back when in the 30s or the 20s, we just haven't seen a player in the American League do something like this. Go out there and throw every week, it feels like, and then be able to hit leadoff or hit second and hit the ball out of the ballpark, essentially. We've never seen these likes before, and I think that's what has made people gravitate, I think, towards Shohei more than Trout, though I still think Trout is the main face of the organization because he's been there for so long. I think that Fox had a stat on the Saturday primetime game, but this is already Trout's 12th year in the in Major League Baseball, and all with the Southern California franchise. They're not LA, just so people remember that they're not based in Los Angeles. But certainly I do believe that it is Ohtani's team now, and I think I'm with you though, that I think I'm on board with this being Ohtani's club, because it just seems like though that every other highlight they show on local TV down here or even nationally, there's not a lot of Trout now. It's more Ohtani on the mound or Ohtani stealing a base or hitting a ball out of the ballpark. So I think Sarge on a very fair point, though. I think a lot of people who are Angel fans may honestly agree with you that it's kind of in a way becoming Shohei's organization, not just Trout's, but it's also Ohtani's now at this rate.
Yeah, I don't think Trout is going to go anywhere, but I would say, yeah, Ohtani is, for me, is the new face of the Angels. If it wasn't for Trout being injured so many times, my mind will be different on that one. I'll say Trout is still the face with that one, but yes. I gotta believe that Ohtani and Syndergaard actually has pushed the Angels to where they're at as of right now, because earlier in the season, I said that the Seattle Mariners, who are my team, were actually going to make the playoffs. I did not expect the Angels to go off like how they did beginning of the season. And so at this time, I do not think the Mariners are going to make the playoffs this year. It's going to be another close, I guess, another close season for them to make it on that one right there. So, and I actually been to Angel Stadium. Have you?
Yes, plenty of times.
Yeah, it's like an older stadium, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was actually right next to the carpet in center field. So I could actually touch that little grass area on that center field, which was fake carpet.
Yeah.
And I was surprised how hot it gets when they shoot those flames out of those rocks when Mike Trout hits the home run right there. So really quick, do you think the Mariners actually can make it to the playoffs?
I really hope they do. I mean, for the sake of, people like yourself who are in the Pac Northwest or who are Mariner fans, enduring 20 plus years of not getting to the postseason. And just, I think it's more of like the bitter taste of where the Mariners were last season in regards to being like a game away from making it. And they got hot in September, but again, they kind of dug themselves too big of a hole to climb up, and they had to have like two, three, four teams all lose. And I think they all won, sadly. But I think with kind of the rough start they've gotten off to, I think it's just very hard, Sarge, to overreact in a season so long like baseball, because there's going to be these periods, though, where teams get hot in April or May or in June, and teams who kind of are 50-50, they kind of aren't playing consistent baseball. But who knows what will happen, though, once the second half of the season begins. I mean, for example, best case, look at San Diego and the Mets last season. They were two of probably the best teams last season, and they all fell apart at the seams because of internal strife. And the Mets had bickering. The Padres had bickering going on. They were throwing their manager under the bus. He kept moving Tatis Jr. from the infield to the outfield last season because of his shoulder issues last season. So I think if you look at, for example, maybe it does go this way where the Angels probably play good ball for 2 months and then they crash and burn. Seattle, they kind of have played, up and down, maybe below, expectation baseball. But what about the second half? I think it's a bit unfair I think it's also a little bit difficult in a sport like baseball, which is such a long season. It's a constant daily grind, every, 2, 3, 4 days in a row or a lengthy stretch, though. It's hard, I think, to really pinpoint or say in June, oh, we're not going to make the postseason. Oh, we're going to make the playoffs. Because, I mean, if we look back, just on last season, Seattle, got hot at the right time, didn't get any help, though. San Diego and the Mets, consistently were playing, great ball from April till mid-July. Trade deadline rolls around. Padres don't make any moves. They fall apart at the seams. They have, dugout fights and, chirping battles. The entire rotation gets hurt. The Mets, same exact way. Great start to the season. But then all the other, layers that were added, Lindor and McNeil having a fight in May in the dugout. The whole thumbs down thing that I talked about on other networks last season, where they were booing the fan base last season, and then, of course, the Mariners. But, for the Angels, though, I'd like to see him get back in there just because, that people have always said, well, Trout's good, though. But there's always been that but, though. He's only made the postseason one time, and I think he struck out a very high percentage of the time he was in the postseason in 2014. Literally, we're looking at almost 10 years come 2024 of Trout not making the postseason. And then they had, and they tried with Pujols. They tried with Josh Hamilton. Now they have Ohtani. They tried with Rendon and Syndergaard. And, it just has not panned out yet. But it is, though, June. But I know that, of course, that this team is in a major rut right now. But I would say pump the brakes a little bit. I know things are very out of control right now, but it's still June. I mean, can they turn this around? Maybe not. Maybe not. But it is only June, though, still.
Yeah, and Brenda Herrera has a fantasy World Series that he said, let's go Mariners versus Padres in the World Series. Hey, there's a fantasy that
the ultimate Vetter Cup series right there.
I know. Well, I'll take it because the Mariners haven't reached the World Series, so I'll take it. I don't care if they lose or not on that one. All right, so moving forward, we actually have another team that is actually in first place in the AL Central, and that is the Minnesota Twins. So the Twins are, I think they're about like 4.5 games ahead of, I forget who they were ahead on that one.
Gotta be Chicago.
Chicago, that's right. But they're going into Toronto in this next series, but they're going to lose a few players due to COVID restrictions and so forth. And I'm just going to keep my mouth shut on that one. But are you surprised at the Twins where they're at as of right now?
I would honestly, Sarge, have to say yes. I think a lot of people, myself included, I think we all had Chicago winning the AL Central, but they've been kind of beat up a bit. They really haven't had, much offense, it seems like, in certain sprouts or certain games more so. And they've been bit by the injury bug, for a bit. But with Minnesota, though, I would say I am definitely surprised by how the Twins have kept this thing going. Now, the signing of Correa, though, does in fact give that club a shot in the arm, though, for sure, because you have one of the most shorthanded shortstops with one of the bigger bats who came over during free agency over the offseason. And I am very, I'm with Brandon. The Twins and their fans are shocked. I mean, I'm shocked, though, too, because I would thought they would have been like, for sure a second place or even a lot to get a wild card for sure, because I really feel like, though, that the White Sox and Twins would have made the postseason regardless. However, I do have to say this, though. I think if things work out the way they usually do, though, if they make the postseason, you have to play the New York Yankees in the first round. Like they just can't escape their kryptonite of playing the Yankees in the postseason. But, staying on track, though, certainly I'm very shocked, though. And I'm very, proud, though, of how that team, though, had a very, rough season last year. And they kind of, in a way, have turned things around, at least for right now. They've turned things around here in early June, though. But Correa going there is a major shot on the arm, though. I like the rotation. They've been kind of beat up as well, though. But lineup looks good, though. Baldelli's done a good job making that group regroup, basically, and getting back on level pegging for sure. But at least right now on June 6th, I'd say yes, they are for real. But again, once the White Sox get healthy, does that change the course of the season or what have you? But certainly for now, Minnesota easily, in my mind, biggest surprise right now in the American League.
All right, I gotta agree with you on that one. With them picking up Bundy, they have Chris Archer, who kind of fell off kind of helps
Agreed.
their rotation right there. But Correa, that is an interesting one because he signed like a 3-year deal that was over $100 million, and each there's I think each year is a player option with that. I think that is kind of a crazy contract that someone can get with that, especially if the Minnesota Twins. That's who I was surprised who he went with. Were you surprised that he went? Yeah.
I really had him going to Detroit, honestly.
Oh, really?
I had him going to Detroit because I really thought that other than Baez, who could have played second, they needed a shortstop. But I agree though more so, and I think it's just more. And I think Brandon would probably agree though. I think you would agree though as well though, Sarge. The fact that the Twins did this, in their market, the weather is somewhat suspect in April and part of May, and then late September, late October when it begins to change though. But, I think a lot of Twins fans are saying, where did this money come from all of a sudden to go out there and get Correa on, a very short, time, like timetable. And Brandon just clarified it's 3 years with 2 different player options for Correa. But still, I think Brandon would even agree though. Where in the world did the Twins find this money to sign Carlos Correa? Like, was it in the mattress? Was it, unattended Brinks trucks? Where did the Twins all of a sudden find that money to spend on Correa over the offseason? Because I think that move happened, I want to say, right as the lockout deal was finally over with.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me back when the Mariners got Robinson Cano,
yes,
for like over $200 million. And so far, I'm like, where is this money coming from?
Yeah, especially in Seattle. Like, where in the world did we find this money?
I guess how well that worked out.
I mean, I've even said the same thing when San Diego got Hosmer and Machado. It's almost like, where in the world did we find this money?
That is true. All right, we're going to move along in the MLB, but we're going to go to a different division. We're going to go into the National League over here. So let's talk a little about the NL Central and the NL West, and we'll start with the NL Central on this one. So you got 2 teams up front. You got who you got? You got the
Milwaukee and St. Louis.
And St. Louis is about 2.5 games back of Milwaukee as of right now. Do you think Milwaukee is going to lose ground, or are they going to gain ground? Because last year I picked Milwaukee to win that division. I was called crazy, and they actually did. So what's your thoughts?
No, I'm with you. I'm on the Milwaukee bandwagon for the Central Division title for the 2nd straight season because I just like that team. They came here and played the Padres, about a week or last week, I think, and they took 2 out of 3 from the Pods. But they have a very good lineup. Right now, though, their rotation is extremely beat up right now. Woodruff's out. Corbin Burns got chased early against the Padres this weekend in Milwaukee. Not Andy Ashby. I'm thinking of his uncle. His nephew. I forget his first name, sadly. But he's thrown the ball very well, though, him being the lefty in that rotation. Hauser's also solid. But the bullpen is what I think is more so is why the Brewers are where they are right now, because Josh Hader's been on another level so far to start this season. I think he's like 18 of 18 in save opportunities. No runs given up so far. Devin Williams is a very reliable 8th inning guy, though. And their lineup, though, man, they do hit, though. I mean, I know they've had a couple of, like, rough series, though. They had a very rough one, though, losing 3 out of 4 to San Diego, but they had a great comeback on Thursday with Jace Peterson's, game-tying triple. Then McCutchen broke his 0 for 32 with that game-winning hit. But then they got shut out back-to-back nights. They were no hit till the bottom half of the 8th on Friday against Joe Musgrove. And certainly with with Milwaukee, though, I still like them to win the division. But St. Louis, I think, though, Sarge, I think if any baseball fan out there knows, the Cardinals are always going to be in the mix. They very seldom, to me, it just seemed like that very seldomly that they don't miss the postseason. Like they're always in there. They're getting in one way, shape, form, or size, though, and they're always consistently winning, though. And they're, I think, a bit of a small surprise, though, because, with Wainwright and Molina and, even with Albert and Molina throwing earlier in the season, but again, with the scores, though, with them coming in, though. But, with Albert, Molina, and Wainwright being like, the 3, poster children of that franchise, though. But then you look at guys like Arenado, who's being paid, by the Rocks still like $50 million to play, in St. Louis. But then you look at guys like Bader and Edman and Goldschmidt and, Dylan Carlson and guys like that. This is a group though who's veteran led, but they get very good production out of their younger players and stuff of that caliber. So I still like the Brewers though, but I still think regardless St. Louis gets in though, because they're always consistently getting in the postseason. They're always putting together very good years and stuff like that. But right now, I still like Milwaukee kind of like head and shoulders better than St. Louis right now.
All righty. I have to agree with you on all that right there. And Pujols and Molina are the worst pitchers on the Cardinals team as we speak as of today.
36 ERA, ouch.
I know. But so I saw a post somewhere that someone was saying Paul Goldschmidt is a candidate for MVP. What's your stance on that?
It's not a bad take. I think it's actually a good take though. But the MVP though, I feel like is just it's like the All-Star game. I feel like, Sarge. It's a very big overblown popularity contest. And I think that, and this is across all sports, I think, Sarge, people are losing the meaning of that award. It's not all about the numbers, but I always try to remind people, it's about the value to the team. Where are the Padres right now if Manny Machado's not hitting 350 in April or having 5-hit games? Where is St. Louis, though, without maybe a Goldschmidt or a Arenado or guys like that? Where's Milwaukee maybe right now without some of the guys on their roster, or even, guys on the Dodgers, are they, somehow still in first place despite all the money that they spent though? Like, where's Betts? Where's Taylor? Where's Freeman in that? I think that people lose their traction. We get so caught up though by reading the numbers and the StatCast and all that other, BS, with numbers that we forget though. It's not all about the numbers. It's the overall value that player has to his franchise. And I think that's why Machado is on top of my list, not because I live in San Diego, but where are the Padres without Machado's bat? Where is St. Louis without like Goldschmidt or Nolan Arenado or guys like that? So I do think that it's a fair point though that with Goldschmidt, I think he had a 25-game hitting streak. That certainly I think warrants consideration because, where would they have been though during that stretch though where he wasn't hitting the ball, for 25 straight games if he wasn't getting hits, and yeah, you can look at other guys though to help out the cause though. But I still think, though, that Goldschmidt's going to be getting votes for MVP. I think he's probably at least top 5 right now. I honestly really couldn't think of like a top 3. I think Machado has to be in there along with probably 1 or 2 of the guys from the Dodgers. Maybe it's someone from the Mets.
Of course.
Yeah. So who really knows, though?
All right, so let's go to the NL West, where, like as you just mentioned, you're in the San Diego, you're a Padres fan, and so forth. And I have to bring this up. This came over right here. So there's a room that someone's planning to visit.
No.
So I'm just letting you know, Callan, that you're in the compound. Anything goes. So is there anything you want to say regarding this? Anything goes, and so forth.
So I know if we go 0 for 7 on this homestand, I know who to blame. I know that. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that.
Let's leave it at that. And that one person, I will find you. That's what I will tell. That's what pretty much will find you. We'll find you. Yes, Will Polson, you did miss miss Cardinals talk. It was a good talk. We were saying how they're not going to make it into the playoffs, but no, just kidding on that one. That how they're always in a playoff hunt, and that Pujols and Molina are the worst pitchers on that team.
36 ERA.
Exactly. So with the NL West, I know I don't want to talk a lot about the Dodgers because their payroll or they bought their World Series. Let's put it that way. They bought it. But with the Padres, they picked up Robinson Cano. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So good
it didn't
news.
work sadly after 11 games.
He's not suspended yet, so that's the good news on that one.
He's been released though. Free agent.
Oh, he's okay. I missed that one.
But during the road trip, they sent him to AAA El Paso, and he elected free agency after 11 games. So,
yeah. So since Will Polson chimed in, I want to talk about fantasy baseball. About 2 years ago, he was doing a draft with his network and everything, and I told him to pick up Ha-Seong Kim. The shortstop for the Padres. Because I was like really high on him when he first came in because I was looking at stats from when he came from Korea. What's your thoughts on him so far?
He's done a good job plugging the gap right now for Fernando Tatis Jr. And Sarge, I said this last season, though, too, is that when the Padres signed him, it vaguely reminded me a little bit of like seeing Daisuke Matsuzaka come over here, Shohei coming over, is I think people don't fully know this. And, through my time playing the game, I was able to play internationally for 3 years in 3 different countries. And going to Japan, though, it really is a different game over there because you're used to, the home run or strikeout here, but you miss a lot of the other minutia that makes baseball so beautiful. The suicide squeezes, the hit and run plays, the stolen bases. And there is a transitional gap that players have coming from the KBO or the Nippon League in Japan or Korea to the States, where guys over there don't throw a lot of, they don't throw as hard as, guys here in the States. So, they're not chucking 100-mile-an-hour heaters. They throw more, 90, 95 though, but more off speed, more, stuff you don't see a lot here though. And I tried to tell, people last season, even this year, there is like a 1 to 2 year transition to adjust yourself to the game here. And I know his bat really hasn't produced though, but he has, I think he's had some bright moments though, at the plate. He's had a couple of big home runs, but it probably not enough for maybe my liking or fans liking though. But I'm still very high on him. I believe he does have, potential. But I do know, though, that after last season, even part of this year, though, that a lot of people have kind of been, wondering about maybe his future here. You just don't give up on a guy, though, after you sign him to a long contract. And I think it's still like a very almost fairly friendly contract. I think that he does have that he's warranted. I want to say it's like roughly $7 million over the course of 3 or 4 more years, I want to say. So it's not too bad. It's not like Eric Hosmer's deal or Machado's deal or Tatis's deal with what they're owed, annually. But I'm still high on him. I think he has potential. I think more so he has to tweak his stance a bit, though, because I've noticed a lot, though, he's lifting too many balls in the air, not getting, on the ground contact or line drives, but a lot of, pop-ups in the infield or fly balls. Those are good and all, though, if they bring in runs, but not good when you're leading off an inning, though, or you leave guys on base, though, with 2 outs trying to get it, get runs home.
I agree with that. That's kind of like a slow pitch softball. That's what happened to us yesterday in our league game. Everything was popped up in the infield, and it was horrible. But since bringing up the international, I don't know if you know this. In 2023, MLB World Classic is back. I actually enjoy it. I
love it.
It was great for MLB. I enjoyed it during the preseason. I thought it was great. So look forward to that. And Will, I hope you're still here to talk because we're going to talk about hockey because. I believe what is it? Avalanche in Edmonton tonight?
Yes, game 4.
Game 4. Okay, we're gonna go. Let's go with that one. So I do see the Avalanche sweeten the series and so forth. And I think the Avalanche will go to the Stanley Cup and probably face. I don't know who they're gonna face right now. I'll get that to later. But Kane did a nasty hit a couple of days ago. And he got suspended for that one game, and he had a clarification on why it happened, and so forth. But still, you cannot cross-check somebody like that. So, who are you taking for the Western Conference or on the West side for the NHL?
Yeah, no, I have Colorado. And I said this on Intergalactic Sports last week that Colorado has been very good all season. They don't make a lot of mistakes. They don't have a lot of flaws, and their offense is what would propel them to the Stanley Cup and beyond and into winning the championship this year because, this has been a core, though, Sarge, who's been together for quite a while. And they almost in a way have reminded me a bit of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart. Nathan McKinnon, Mikko Rantanen, and Gabriel Landeskog, they've been there 5, 6, 7 years, 8 years together. And a lot of people were saying, you got to break this group up. Yeah, they're good, but they're not going to win together. And I would probably tell anybody out there, let them grow, let them, once they get more and more time under their belt, they're going to be good together. And this season, I think, has just kind of proved that in a way where, and not just that, though, and I said this, though, as well, though, Sarge, there's just so much scoring depth on the Avalanche roster. It's not just, Landeskog and McKinnon and, those guys. But then you have, Kadri. You've also had, Cale McCarr, you've had Nichushkin, you've had so many other guys who, step up and take the scoring, pressure off of the main stars on this roster. And everyone contributes. I mean, look at JT Compher. I think he's only known for his sister playing with the women's team in Beijing this past year. But he had the game-winning goal, though, in Game 3 out of the penalty box, and he took it all the way to the house, basically. So it's not just the main guys for Colorado. It's everybody doing their job, though. I mean, I even think back to Game 2 when former Duck Josh Manson, he scored a goal, that capped off, 2 goals in 15 seconds. They've had those very quick bursts of like 2 goals in 30 seconds, 3 goals in a minute. And it's just like, it's coming, but can you stop it? Can you contain it? Can you keep them, at bay? And I thought that Edmonton did a good job, though, when, in fact, Kane cross-checked Kadri. They killed off a 5-minute major, and that could have been one where, oh, man, 5-minute major power play, and this is going to go for 5 whole minutes without it stopping. That could have killed Edmonton right away, and they're protecting a 1-goal lead, but then the wheels fell off, though. So I still think it's Colorado's trophy to lose right now because their scoring depth, they've had good goaltending. I know that Darcy Kemper's been hurt, and that Pavel Francouz has really, I think, done a great job of keeping things in line right now for Colorado. So unless Edmonton finds a way to somehow, some way, at least get one game here, I don't like their chances going into Game 4 later on Monday.
Yep, and it's tonight at 5 o'clock Pacific time on TNT, so don't just go ahead and watch it. I mean, I became an NHL fan over, I say, the last 3 weeks or something like that. I was over in New York and just watching some games over there, and I became a huge NHL fan because I believe it was the Rangers versus Pittsburgh, and a fight broke out within a minute of that game, which was awesome. So we're going to go on the other side of the country. And why do we have hockey in Florida? Because we have – can you answer that?
I wish I could, but then people would question me, why do you have hockey in California?
That is definitely true. Definitely true. So tomorrow night, we got the Rangers and Lightning in the Game 4 series. Is this a must-win game for Tampa Bay? Because they're down 2-1 already in this series, which I did not predict that to happen.
I didn't either, Sarge. And I'm glad, though, that somebody who was losing a series won a game because, honestly, it was a bit of a snore fest seeing Colorado and the Rangers win the first 5 games combined, all 3 by the Avs and then the first 2 won by the Rangers. But for Tampa to at least get one, though, is critical because now we have a series. Now, if they tie this thing up, though, now we really have a series going back to the Garden. And New York has virtually been unbeatable at MSG in this entire postseason, it feels like. But so far, though, and I said this, though, too, Tampa Bay is out to prove to people out there this is not a fluke franchise. They've won back-to-back Stanley Cups. Like I said, though, earlier, but people are going to say, but wait, it was under COVID. It was COVID seasons those 2 years, though. And one has to wonder a bit, though. And I did say, though, I picked New York to beat Tampa Bay, though, on ice in last week, though, because I just feel like, though, that Tampa had 9 days off, though, to prep to play either the Canes or the Rangers, and New York had to play Game 7 and then trounce the Hurricanes. Something, though, has turned, something with New York, though, has changed, though, as this postseason has gone on, though. And I don't know if it's with their scoring or with Igor Shesterkin being on one right now in goal. But that one has to wonder how much, though, that the constant deep playoff runs, how much of a toll has that taken on the Lightning, because when you play so many games, though, when you're playing, Game 6, Game 7s, though, and you're playing so far deep into the season. Now, yes, I know, though, that they had, the 3 months off, though, with their first cup during the 1920 season. And then, of course, last year was under, the very weird aligned season. Again, you had, them playing Montreal. You had 2 Eastern Conference teams playing for the Stanley Cup last season. You had no one from the Western Conference actually playing against, Tampa Bay because of how the league was last year. So, maybe 2 cups won under very weird circumstances, though. But even then, though, they're still out here to prove people, say what you want, but we're not a fluke, whatever you may think.
All righty. Well, Callan, thank you for coming on. If you want to see more of Callan, go to Intergalactic Sports Net Entertainment Network. It's a great show. You see a whole bunch of Marvel comics, and they have a great show on there as well. Callan, thank you for coming on. I hope you can come back on in the future.
Anytime, man. Anytime.
And it was fun. It was fun. So just let me know. And thank you for coming to the Sports Compound. I am the Sarge with Callan. Thank you for joining us. See you next time. Sarge out.
Have a great day.